Good morning, everyone, and thanks for joining the Clallam EDC Coffee Chat, Coffee with Colleen. This morning, we have the superintendent of the Sequim School District on with us, Regan Nichols, and she's going to be talking to us about all the ongoing and activities at the Sequim School District. So, just a few housekeeping items before we start this off. If you'll keep yourself on mute so we don't get background noise, I'd appreciate that. So there aren't any unintended interruptions. And then additionally, we like this to be interactive. Regan has a slide deck, as you can see, with that cute little kid's face on there. And so if you have questions, you can either put it in the chat and I'll ask it for you, or please feel free to raise your hand and we'll call on you. So with that, Regan, thanks so much for joining us today and taking time to prepare this update and be with us. We really appreciate you. So with that, Regan, go ahead. Thanks.
Thanks. Well, I appreciate being here. Thank you for having me today. As we get started, I'd like to share that my overview today will absolutely touch on our progress with the bond, but it also will be a presentation where we talk about what's going on inside the schools, because as much as there's the importance of getting it right with building something new, we want the programming on the inside to be high quality as well. Going to review some demographics of our school district so that you can get a feel for what our profile is. And then as I move through things, just as Colleen said, I am completely open to stopping and taking any questions that come to mind. So please let us know what you're wondering. First of all, I'd like to say that it's really grateful feeling that we have in the school district regarding folks who have gone ahead and supported the school district in so many ways. The support for the bond and the levy was, of course, critical, and it has given our school district and our community a real boost, along with other surrounding neighborhoods and school districts like Port Angeles and Port Townsend. But we also have regular support that comes to us through many ways. Our Rotarians are so supportive of our career and technical education, our Interact Club, so many different community events. We have our Lions Club. We have our Association of Realtors that donates for Level the Field. And we have people who just come out to help us with helping hands. So I can't say enough how grateful we are, and we recognize that, and you'll hear a little bit of it today. So as we move through this presentation, you'll see some things that might be known to you and some other things that might be new. Okay, who are we? I'd like to let you know the demographics of our school district right now. So these are hot off the press numbers for our enrollment. We have 2,531 students currently. You can see the breakdown of our enrollments at each of our schools. We do have alternative learning environments. That is our Olympic Peninsula Academy. That is a hybrid school. Students come to attend school at OPA, as we call it, but there also is a homeschooling component that the parents are responsible for. About 30 to 40% of the teaching happens within the home. We also have our Dungeness Virtual School. That is another alternative learning environment where the schooling is done virtually. We do have teachers who facilitate student learning plans, and they help students stay on track with the Edgenuity coursework that we give them as a platform.
So what's the difference then between Olympic Peninsula Academy and Dungeness Virtual School? Is there some overlap there? I mean, I obviously begins in Dungeness Virtual School begins in third grade, and the other one begins in kindergarten. But do you have overlap there, or are they completely separate?
There can be overlap if a student from Olympic Peninsula Academy chooses to take a virtual course that they are just purely taking from their laptop. But the schools are very different. At OPA, we do have students who are coming 4 days a week. So they're having 2.5 days of core instruction with our classroom teacher. And then they are having half days of enrichment programming. So they're learning different types of pottery, archery, history. We find folks who are willing to come in and teach those enrichment modules. So it's a heavy parent partnership there, but they absolutely are attending school, where virtual school is off campus, typically through a laptop.
And do you track, are you able to track that they're attending on the virtual school?
Yes, we do track attendance, and that's required by the state. The way
Okay.
that attendance is taken is different than a brick and mortar school. You need
Mhm.
to count contacts. So
Okay.
we monitor when they are having contact with their Dungeness Virtual School course advisor. And
Mhm.
that's done through the student learning plan and those parent meetings as well.
So we already have a question in the chat. Oh,
Great.
Stephen has his hand raised. Great. Go ahead, Stephen.
Sorry, I had you on mute there. I've done a little comparison to the Port Angeles School District, and I know 25 years ago, Port Angeles had as much as 4,500 students. And today they have about 3,150, 3,200, but a couple hundred of those are virtual school, what they didn't have 20 years ago. So they're down more than 30% versus 20 years ago. That's a reflection of birth rates and our demographics. I had heard Sequim was actually down versus a decade or versus 20 years as well. Can you give us some historical perspective on the 2,500 number?
Yes, and thanks for asking. That's a great segue to where I was hoping to head.
How can
We are down in enrollment, but Sequim School District has had more of a plateau effect following COVID than some other school districts that have had severe downturns. What we are seeing is that due to birth rate, our kindergarten classes are coming in lower. We used to have up to 170 students in kindergarten. We now are projecting for 137 students coming into kindergarten. We did have a demographic study done prior to the bond campaign because we wanted to understand what our enrollment would be in the future, and that went out 40 years. And what we've been told is that due to birth rate, even if you had all the best programming in the world, the students are not being born out there to even come to your community. So it's very important to look at what types of residential construction actually will result in school age children. We have a projection of 17 students per 100 homes being built in Sequim School District. That leads, though, to more of a plateau effect, and that's what we're planning for. We think we'll be down 58 students next year from where we are right now. This enrollment figure you're seeing is our April enrollment. We actually had higher enrollment all the way from September to March. But when you get to this point in the school year, we have many seniors who have got the credits they need to actually step away from school until they graduate. And so we do see a downturn at that point. And we have experienced that type of historical trend for decades.
So when the state counts your enrollment to determine the funding that you receive, do they use a number from October or do they use the end of year numbers?
Great questions. They actually use a monthly number. The first Monday of every month, we have count day, and we're required to send those figures in. And enrollment is adjusted for funding stream every single month.
Oh, wow.
And
Okay.
from September to December, you get a very consistent figure, and then it's trued up in January. And then we get monthly changes throughout the rest of the year.
Got it.
So it's
Thanks.
a challenge to budget. We're budgeting right now. We're doing that development, and we have to do everything based on historical trends, projections we know about birth rates that we study, and make sure we're trying to land the plane, knowing that we will lose enrollment April to June.
Mhm.
Okay, any other questions on this? Enrollment is
Is
critical for funding.
is the running start amount of 68 students, is that fairly typical?
Yes, well, we start the year higher. So this year we had, I believe, up to 74 students that were enrolled in Running Start. That is quite typical. And so students who attend Running Start, the funding for those students is a pass-through. So it comes through the school district to facilitate, but the money is sent on to Peninsula College to facilitate the programming those students are taking.
Okay. Dale?
A few months ago, when I heard about the 17 students per 100 homes built, I almost fell over and fainted. I think that's about half of the statewide average. Um, and so this is not something that the school district has control over. It's something the community, it's about what we're doing in the community to invite, support families coming into the district. And I'm wondering if folks at the school district are, have similar concerns and what kind of how we and the rest of the community should be thinking about trying to turn that around.
Well, the school district has seen itself as a significant partner for job creation. We know that young families move to the places where they have employment and they can see that future and to raise their family. And so this whole notion that the EDC is really a champion of around living wage jobs is something that we want to align with and make sure that our course offerings are promoting students who have the skills and the competencies to be able to flexibly shift to what jobs will be available. So I think there are some amazing opportunities in the future, and we're going to have to capitalize on those. We also have to have an environment that students, as they grow through their education and they might go somewhere else, can see SQUIM as a viable place to return. So we're very hopeful around that, and affordable housing, we all know, is one of those components when you are in your young career.
And I think that's a huge driving component. And so a couple things I'd like to add is for decades, SQUIM has become a retirement community. It's got nice weather. It was historically less expensive than other areas. And our hospital environment caters to an older generation. And so, we attract a lot of retirees. So those are the homes that are being built generally that people can afford. And I in 2019, I met with 8 different apartment builders and townhome, large developers, trying to get them to come to our county. And Port Angeles had the multifamily tax exemption, which SQUIM doesn't have yet, but I hope they'll have it soon after they're done with their comp plan, which is a huge incentive for people building multifamily. And that's, there's just no way to viably build a starter home today. And based on what people can afford. So what people can afford, is is a $200,000 to $300,000 home, but based on the state's building code requirements but more so energy code requirements, you just can't build it for below $400,000. The least expensive homes now, which there's builders getting out of the business because Lennar, that does everything on a huge scale and is very, very efficient, it has their lowest priced home at $399 for a 2-car garage house in Carlsberg, and no one can compete with that. And so, but that's the lowest price point of what's being built is $400,000 for their base model. So, and that's not a young family's first home. So it's a economic barrier that's preventing more starter homes, more homes for younger families. Sorry, Regan, I didn't mean to interject so much, but it's a myriad of factors. Yeah.
We're an ecosystem. Everything is connected. So one of my goals is for the school district to see itself as a partner in all strands of us trying to build economic vitality. And I guess one thing to share is that as I've really worked through a partnership with so many different groups and heard perspectives, there's been this notion about our schools being relatively old and not so attractive. I think it's much bigger than that. And so we can build a school that looks the part, but people have to have the pathway to be able to be here and enjoy that. So we're working with entities that are trying to hire and attract employees that do see SQUIM as an opportunity. And so I've partnered with OMC and City of SQUIM most recently to really think about how we can talk to candidates and introduce our school system in a very positive way and hope to build the confidence that we can be the system for them. Okay, we'll move on. So what is happening so that we are monitoring success with graduation rate? You know, a school system is only as good as the product that we are putting out for students to be able to hang their hat on, depart the school system, and be successful in their next step, whatever that is. So we have really sought partnership for SQUIM High School College Advising. We are a part of the College Success Foundation. We have a 9th grade success grant, and the synergy of these programs to help introduce students to what actually is out there for career opportunity, how you find the pathways to putting yourself in a position to be able to take the opportunities that are out there. We have amazing school counseling, but the partners that are coming alongside our school counselors and our school teams to look at data have really shown us that if we heavily monitor 9th grade success, it will be indicative of what type of graduation success comes next. And we're having really strong results from this. So I know that there are people on this call who are part of this partnership with us. And I just want to say thank you to everyone who's lending a hand, because it is a village concept to get students over the finish line successfully. We do have college in the high school here. We all know about Running Start. So students depart the campus and they go to Peninsula College for Running Start. But we have college courses that are actually offered right in our SQUIM High School building day to day to day. And those are facilitated through Eastern Washington University, University of Washington courses. Our teachers are trained and are facilitating those courses in their classrooms. So we have high participation in those. We also have AP courses, advanced placement, that students are taking. And some of the profile secondary institutions that students are being accepted into are listed here. We are doing very well competitively to have students prepared for some of these institutions with very competitive acceptance rates. Okay, and that is just one pathway. Our graduation pathways are significantly growing, so I'll talk more about those in a moment. Any questions on this?
No.
All right, so let's talk about career and technical education. This is a place where SQUIM School District has been growing and seeing some significant partnership out in the community, and is really working toward having students prepared for career trades right out of their graduation. We have many course offerings, 67 to be exact. We're implementing 2 new programs. Industrial arts has been growing significantly in our middle school. So we now offer additional sections of that. We're actually in the throes of registration for next year, and we're seeing a lot of interest around it. I also will say, if you drive by SQUIM High School, you will see students outside right now. They're building a shed. We are really working on integration of the core trades in applicable projects, not just hearing about it, but getting the hands-on experience. We have grown significantly in middle school CTE, and we're looking at how science can continue to grow in middle school through career and technical education. One thing I want to let everyone know is that there is the course-based work in career and tech ed, but we also have student organizations tied to CTE, and these have absolutely taken off. The mentorship that these students receive from our staff members is incredible. They are being introduced to opportunities that are well outside of Sequim School District. So we have these organizational teams, cohorts of students going to places like Spokane, across the water to Seattle, and they're participating in club competitions and having amazing success. HOSA is for medical professionals of the future, and we are taking state level competitions and winning them. And that is because the exposure starting in middle school to these pathways is executed once they get into high school as well. And they are going to have certificates and preparation for jobs they could have. Some students are even working while they're in high school. FFA, Future Farmers of America, we've had amazing results in that arena as well. The equestrian team this year is headed to states across the board. We've never had so much success there. FBLA, we have students at state today for Future Business Leaders of America. And Skills USA and our Technology Association, we've sent students to NASA camp because of their success in state competition. We recognize that we're going to have to keep building these outside experiences because they introduce students to opportunities and the application of all their skills. So I'm about ready to switch over to talking about our bond. If there is any other question about CTE or programming that we are providing, please let me know. Okay, so I want to review what our Sequim School District bond projects are so that everybody is clear. It was a comprehensive school construction package. And so Helen Haller Elementary will be replaced. Sequim High School buildings A, B, C, D, and E will also be replaced. But I want to be clear, the gym is going to be remaining. H building, where we have many math, English, world language classes, will be remaining. Our cafeteria will be remaining. Our auditorium remains. A bus loop through the campus was part of the project. Multi-sport athletic field facility upgrades. We are looking at a new stadium and assessing the fields along with the stadium area. Safety and security upgrades across our campuses, and so that is already underway. I'll tell you about that. Gray Wolf needs to have traffic engineering. The campus was never designed for the degree of parent drop-off and pickup that we now have, and so we're going to be looking at that. And then we have a cafeteria on the Gray Wolf campus that is part of the project because currently there's only a gym that has been used in the past as a cafeteria also, but now we facilitate classroom-based eating, and we have the gym as PE class. And then we have HVAC improvements for Gray Wolf because of its age. That's a necessity, and a new transportation center. Some of you may know our transportation center is an old lumber yard, and the degradation of that site is quite significant. So I won't read all this to you. I'll just tell you what we have going on. The school district hired Wenaha Group. Wenaha Group is working as our project management, and so they are assisting our director, Mike Santos, with facilitating all of the bidding, the project management, the financial oversight, and they are continuing to work side by side here on campus to manage that. We have facilitated many early studies, and I'll tell you more about those. And then we have a high-level high school and CTE project development calendar prepared. We don't have that yet for Helen Haller because the high school and the CTE center will be first. So just to let you know, Forma Construction has been hired as the general contractor builder for the high school and CTE project. Malum Architects had been selected some time ago to be the architect to work alongside Forma. And so those relationships are being very well developed. Malum Architects has been working with focus groups and design advisory committees now for months. And so we're getting closer and closer to being able to come out with renderings. And that will be a step that happens in the next few months. Helen Haller Elementary will be built by Progressive Design Build, and Absher McGranahan PBK has been selected as the design builder team that will facilitate that. And we just got that approval across the line earlier this month with the school board. And so meetings will be starting with Absher McGranahan very soon, before the end of the month. Other projects that are moving ahead include feasibility studies for the transportation center. We're having safety and security assessment results that are coming in for our campus-wide efforts. We're going to start with the middle school and make sure that the surveillance and the access control for the middle school is taken care of first. And we're really pleased with how quickly the response to some of these feasibility studies has been put out to bid, and we've been able to get things finalized. The Ramponi Center for Technical Excellence, of course, is part of this project. It is a separate project in the sense that it is funded differently than the bond. We did receive a capital projects grant from the state, and I just want to thank folks on this call today, Dale Jarvis, Kay Richardson. Those folks with the Rotary really helped us to put in the grant application and have a community partner in Rotary to be supporting this. The EDC was a critical part of that as well. And then we had Mrs. Ramponi, who came alongside that grant award and gave us a significant donation as well. And this is Mrs. Ramponi at a soil testing opportunity we had to break some ground, and invited her to be a part of it. I'll say that if you wanted to use the QR code today, we do have a website dedicated to updates for the bond and for the CTE Center. So if you'd like to be able to keep up with what we're doing, that is a site for you. We also sent out a community update, and I hope if you live in the Sequim School District, you did receive that in the mail. So regarding all of this work, I do want to say that we have turned to the EDC as a partner for the Apex Accelerator program to be sure our local vendors and contractors can have a successful pathway to participating in any of the work that is available and viable for them to participate in. We are promoting that we would love folks to reach out to Apex and be sure that they are ready for the different opportunities that will come from these projects. All of our projects are up on our school website, so you can see what bidding is actually open, and this QR code can take you there. We also did put this information in our community mailer so that folks would know this emphasis and understand that we're trying to be supportive on the early proactive end to have people ready. So as we move ahead, just to summarize, we are in a mode right now where you're not going to see a lot of construction. We haven't had groundbreaking yet because we're in the pre-construction mode. The high school and CTE center building will be the first to launch. We are in that phase right now where the architects will be working with Forma, who's now on board, to understand what the design elements will cost and be sure that we're staying within our budgets for each of our projects. We do have a bond oversight committee that meets on a quarterly basis. And so we are accountable to this committee of community stakeholders to be sure that we are staying on time, on budget, that we are sharing the different elements of construction and feasibility that do come up. And we will be doing the same with Helen Haller as this progressive design build model takes flight with Absher McGranahan. So continue to visit the website for the updates as they happen into the summer and into the fall. Here are some of the activities that we have had done. I told you that we've been receiving results. As you can see, for state school construction, there is a tremendous requirement that you move through a series of what we call D forms. Those forms require different aspects of pre-construction to be completed at certain times. We have to file that all of these different components are done. We have been moving out on the different aspects for each of the projects. As you can see here, there is a notion about validation. And what validation means is that when you come up with any plan, you have to be validating that it is not only viable for all of the elements of construction, but also for the budget, and that you're being accountable to that. So we, for each of these activities, are making sure that's happening, not just through the project management team, but through an executive review council, through the school board, and also through our design advisory and stakeholder design advisory teams. The bond oversight committee is also working as that quarterly accountability measure. So here are activities scheduled for April. Many of these have already happened because we are having a great pace. We feel very good. We have had some people say, hey, when are we going to start to see the construction? For many of you in construction, you know, pre-construction takes quite a while, but being thorough in that will allow the construction to move along quite quickly once we get the decisions made. So we are working through the civil and HVAC at Gray Wolf right now. Our transportation center is going under the feasibility studies. We're getting many of those back as we speak. Safety and security, we've already had multiple meetings around our security assessments. So we look forward to having those results and orders going out here into May. I'll go ahead and transition to inside our schools, but I just want to pause about the bond and construction and see if anyone had a question or if they did receive the community update and there was anything in it they wondered about.
Don't see any questions. There is a question actually in the chat. It's about high school dropouts from Steve Paleo. And he's got if you click on the graph, it shows how the number of dropouts per thousand compares to the national average in 2024 was 9.73 per thousand students, I believe. Am I reading that right, Stephen?
I
But
think
in
it's state
Clallam
versus
County,
Clallam County. But yeah.
okay, state versus Clallam County. Got it. Why don't you give the overview to make sure
Yeah, no, I just saw this chart in some of the Washington Department of what is it, Social Welfare. I forget what chart. There's a link to the actual
ESHS.
report in it, but it just shows the cumulative high school dropout rate. And you kind of mentioned something about this starting freshman year and finishing senior year. It looks like for this data, we're about 2 to 2.5 times greater than the state average in Clallam County. Is there some reason why students don't finish high school in Clallam County?
Well, I have to say, I need to look at the Clallam County results overall. I really have been attentive to SQUIMS, so that's a great point. And I can't see your chart because of my presenting status
Okay.
right now, but I will look at it.
Okay, thanks.
What we're seeing around SQUIM high school specifically, and I can speak to that, is that our graduation rate is improving. And the results for 2025 landed us at 90%. The goal, of course, would be that we get to 95% or higher. It is the pinnacle of a school system's mission. And what we're recognizing is that there are situations where students require 24 credits to graduate. They get behind in credit attainment early, and they can't catch up. And they may not see the path of how they can recover those credits. So what Sequim School District has done is, I spoke of that 9th grade Success Academy. We have heavily focused on monitoring freshmen so that we are saying, do we see any patterns of students getting behind that early in their high school career? Because we've got to catch that. If we don't, they're already on a trajectory. So that's where we've had the success. We've had this increasing percentage of students who are actually attaining the credits they need to become a sophomore. Secondly, we know that we need credit recovery for students who have missed attaining credits. And how do you miss attaining credits? Well, you don't pass your classes. You don't get a plan for how you might take the summer school credit you need. So we actually have a program in our high school that's been there for quite some time called SOS, and it is helping students have success in credit retrieval. And it's quite a supportive crew of folks, and we're having success there as well. The other thing I'll just say, building of CTE is so smart for us. There are students who see the pathway for them as being something that is trade-based, and they know it. They know it early. You still have the credits required by the state of Washington to graduate, but we try to put those things in context so that the math may have application to a trade they're interested in. We're really studying how do we have successful core classes like English, history, that is supporting things like technical writing, making sure there's exposure. So we are trying to pull apart all of the layers of the onion and see what individual cases need for support so that the dropout rate does continue to decline. And I'm saying to you, Sequim High School is having success there.
Great. So I've heard about Core 24, and those are required credits to graduate. How many? So that would be 6 per year. But so how many credits do kids that are taking 6 classes a day typically end up with after their freshman year? Is it 6, or could they have a lot more than that?
There are students that might take a schedule that is greater, and they would do that in part by maybe taking a virtual school course on top of their course load. We also have students that want to access, when they get to running START, for instance, they can take additional coursework in the summertime. But you're not able to do that until you're a junior.
Okay.
So it is true that it is critically important in your freshman and sophomore year that you have that credit attainment, because the opportunity to take additional credits doesn't really present until you're getting into an older stage. I will say that the state of Washington has multiple graduation pathways, and we are trying very hard to show students what those different pathways could be and make sure that credits are aligning with the pathways of interest. So CTE completion and just having a certain number of courses in CT is a completed pathway. I do think our advising teams are doing a great job around that. Okay, well, let's talk more about what is going on inside our schools. So we have a strategic plan in Sequim School District, and the 4 colored bars are the overarching big goals for the school district. So we're focused on academic excellence. We really want to make sure we have those pathways to graduation well defined and students are ready for what comes beyond high school. We have cultural and civic responsibility goals and also community volunteer partnership goals. Just overview for you, our K-2 school at Gray Wolf Elementary is very much focused on literacy. We are working very hard on monitoring our literacy rates, because we know the research says if students cannot read at grade level by 3rd grade, they are very much going to have challenges that present for the rest of their schooling career. So we are working on this very, very much. 3 through 5, we're also working on literacy, of course. We do incorporate more writing at this stage, and then math. Leader in Me is a leadership type curriculum that our students are encountering once they get to the 3 through 5, because we want to promote self-management, perseverance, making sure you've got the grit, making sure you're developing mindset for your own success. Because a school can offer an individual student all the programming in the world. You've got to be a student that's going to dive in, be resilient, and make sure you're continuing on to reach for the stars, essentially. 6 through 8, our middle school, is really monitoring academic goals that students are hopefully setting for themselves. The teachers are working together in collaborative teams to make sure that we're putting very engaging and rigorous curriculum in front of our SQUIM middle school students. And we introduce elective exploration. We know middle school is a time for this. This is where our industrial arts programming has done an amazing job. And then we have English and math goals at the high school that we monitor and study. This 9th grade success academy has been something we really have found benefit from. So I know our time is getting down. I'll just go along this district-wide emphasis, attendance. I just like everyone out there to know that we are part of a statewide community of practice to reduce chronic absenteeism by 50% over 5 years. The reason? Chronic absenteeism isn't about students that are unexcused. This is about all students and making sure that you are in school and that we're monitoring how many times you're out, whether it's excused or unexcused. 2 days per month of being out of school ends up being 10% of a school year. And we do have attendance challenges in Sequim School District like it is across the state and nation. Ever since COVID, it has been a challenge. So that's our effort with OSPI, our state Superintendent of Public Instruction. Volunteerism. It happens to be Community Volunteer Appreciation Week right now. And I'd like to say thank you to all of you that have put your name on our volunteer registration list. We have over 760 volunteers registered with Sequim School District this year. We have to do background checks on all of those folks. We appreciate it. We've come out with something new we'd love for you all to think about. We have a volunteer presenter directory. If you have a passion, an expertise, something you wish students would be introduced to, we would love to do a profile on you as a presenter and put that profile in a directory so teachers can just open it up, thumb through and say, hey, I need someone to come speak about 18th century literature. And what do you know? There's an expert in our community who would love to come in and speak about that. We'd love.
What a great idea.
Well, we want to match people up to what our students could be benefiting from. And then a real effort in our district is financial stability. We've worked on this now for years. We do have a financial indicator scorecard that our state really does work with school districts around. We utilize that information. Our budget development right now is facing a $1.8 million reduction going into next year because of our enrollment coming down and also the expenses that are going up. Just think about our school district right now. We didn't see that diesel was going to cost what it currently does today. And we still have the obligation to go to every home school run and to take our athletics off the peninsula. There are expenses that are definitely escalating beyond our ability to have apportionment to cover it. And then we know grant acquisition is important, but for all of you out there involved in nonprofit life, grant acquisition is getting more and more and more competitive, and it's harder for us to pull down the finances this way, but we keep trying. I will say that. And then we want future ready schools. We're one of 10 school districts that Microsoft and CRPE, which is Future Education Readiness, has identified to be part of a grant for data system implementation utilizing AI. And so we are in the throes of that, and we'll go in a week or so to the Microsoft campus for our second convening and talk about the progress we've made on a data dashboard for our teachers to be able to use. So we're very proud of being part of that effort and moving forward. So that concludes what I have, and I'm happy to take follow-up questions or talk about any subjects that I might not have covered today.
Great. So we do have some questions in the chat. So let's see, I think I might be able to share this. Uh, let's see. Kay says, can you share more about the Success Academy?
Sure. So we applied for a grant 3 summers ago to be part of a statewide program that allows a coach to come into your school district and work with a team of stakeholders from 9th grade. So that would be counselors, uh, teacher teams from each discipline, the administration, and you work to study how students are actually prevailing in courses during their freshman year. So we monitor for students that are receiving Fs. And it's not just at the end of the course, it's during the course. What types of interventions need to be put in place? What types of programs the school needs to schedule so students can get the help they need real time, not waiting to fail. And the study of all of this data has really determined that we have had programs initiated. We actually do intervention tutorials during the school day. And if you structure those just right, the response can be quite rapid for a student who may be struggling. So we're really working on those things, and they are causing our students to actually have more success with freshman credit attainment.
Great. So then there's a bit of discussion in the chat about AI affecting CTE and traditional college degrees and professional careers. And Steve Danver from Peninsula College says that's an interesting idea that merits discussion. There are some analogies between AI's impact on professional degrees and careers and the impact that automation has had on many CTE fields. Both innovations were disruptive to traditional ways of doing things and should lead to realignments in the skills and positions necessary. Any comment there, Regan?
So right now in SQUIM CTE, we are trying to embrace AI in the ways that we feel is truly relevant. So I'll give you 2 examples. Through the Recompete grant, we did apply for commercial driver's license CDL simulators because we knew that training for getting those certifications could be done utilizing AI. And we now have these simulators with modules for multiple types of vehicles, and students can have that experience. So that was a path where we thought it's not only great the students get trained for their own certification, but they can start learning how AI can benefit training and how to facilitate utilizing such AI in programming, because that's going to be a reality. The second grant that we received was for an AI tractor. So we have received this, and we're utilizing it in our FFA Ag program. And we're having students learn how to actually program, how to monitor the use of such a piece of equipment, how to understand what it can do that's most beneficial, where it can be implemented and not necessarily be as important to your program, but a nice to have. And it's really promoted a lot of excitement and engagement from students, because I will say student intimidation with AI is a lot less than maybe the adults. So we do recognize, though, we have to be cautious that we shouldn't just be going after it because it exists. We should have a real application, and we should be teaching the students just as much about facilitating the use of it as benefiting from it.
Great. Johanna Barty has several questions in the chat. So she says, did I hear that enrollment this year is lower than at the start of the year? And you said the answer to that is yes, that typically happens with seniors that have got all their credits by April. And so then they don't need to attend school, and then they'll graduate at the end of the year, right?
That is true.
Okay?
Yes. Yes.
Does SQUIM schools have many kids that transfer or homeschool? And I'm curious about the highly capable program and how SQUIM schools work with that program.
Okay. So we do have students who sign up for homeschooling, And the requirement is that you notify the school district of your intent to homeschool. And so we do have a number of students in our area. I know that it is close to 100 students who homeschool. And the RCWs in Washington State don't allow school districts to reach out to homeschool students or parents to ask why. We need to be hands off, but we actually take the road. OPA is a perfect example. We want to partner with homeschool parents. We want to help provide them resources. We'd love to hear their questions. We'd love to be an expert partner for education at different grade spans. So we're very open, and we're actually considering how to start a new program that could harness that relationship in a better way. So more things to come. Highly capable is facilitated in our school district by having a highly capable coordinator. And what she does is make sure that our students are receiving the enrichment programming, and she provides that either by directly instructing students who come out for some small group intervention, week-to-week enrichment opportunities, or by helping to advise their course selection so that they're taking the most advanced courses that we offer or courses that are in their wheelhouse. Because remember, highly capable interaction comes in many forms. There are gifts in so many different areas, so they're not always traditional, and we try to offer the enrichment that students need.
Got it. Okay, and then Paula asked, how has AI affected student learning and coursework? How do teachers ensure that a student isn't tasked to write some kind of report and that they're not using AI to write it?
It's one of the greatest challenges we have. And I think that if we had teachers on this call, they would tell you that it is incredibly frustrating and something that we talk about quite a bit. But our teachers have done an amazing job, especially at the high school level, of finding tools that detect AI use. And also there are programs that detect clicks of a student, so copy and paste, insertions of things, and they are monitoring. We have a program called Turn It In that we're utilizing at the high school right now in our English department to monitor just that. So we have a very small AI group that is working right now to consider what procedures and protocols we need to keep reviewing and implementing so that ethical AI use is the priority, and that we are trying to reduce the cheating, reliance, and not over emphasizing AI as well.
Got it. So I would think one potential pathway would be to have the students write something during class.
Oh, yes, we're very active with having students author directly in the class and making sure we're monitoring things. All state assessments are taken in class on a protected environment, so you're not able to go out on the web while you're doing that.
Yeah.
Yes, we're making those
Got it.
provisions.
Looks like Mitch has some questions. Mitch?
Yeah, man, what a challenge with AI. I know when I was going to high school, really teachers just had to look out for Cliff Notes and basic Google searches. So yeah, it's interesting how you're addressing it and well done. I was curious about you mentioned since COVID, attendance rates has dropped in school days. For the 2024-2025 years, students at Sequim High School attending more than 90% of the school days was at 68.6%, where the state average is closer to 73%. I was curious how you're addressing that and encouraging students to attend closer to that 90% rate. I know you mentioned obviously that has a direct correlation to graduation and other factors there, but how do you go about getting kids to attend more regularly?
Great question, Mitch. That depends on the developmental level of the student. So what we will use as strategies for our elementary is different than our secondary schools. So at our secondary schools, we're using multiple pathways. So the ninth grade success studies absolutely focus on attendance. So we are having one-on-ones with students who are chronically absent, meaning 2 or more absences a month. We're trying to make plans with them for attendance. So attendance plans are implemented that are individualized. The adherence to those plans, though, you can imagine, has a different outcome. And so we do have the state required pathway where we are having truancy identification meetings, and we are having some ultimate severe cases that are going to court. And we have really prioritized that. The courts have had varying levels of interest in executing support, but I will report most recently in Clallam County, I've got to give kudos. There have been fines that have been assessed to families that are state allowable for some severe cases with attendance. We do appreciate that level of support because it is just simply true. Students are supposed to be coming to school by state requirement. And we don't want to get to that level. We want engagement to be significant enough that students want to come. And that's what we really try to develop in elementary school. You're missed. We really missed you today. Making sure the relationship with the teacher is known to both student and parents so that they know how much we care about that. I will say there are some new challenges to attendance, and some of those have nothing to do with being out because you might be sick or having school refusal. It also comes down to vacations. There are many families who find that it is just simply more convenient to go at a different time than a school vacation week. It may be less expensive to go outside of a school vacation week. And there are times where students who are actually having success in school are gone. And that is a chronic absenteeism issue as well at times. So we're monitoring all of this. And it is a challenge for sure. But we belong to the community of practice. And just yesterday, we had a 2-hour meeting about different strategies we could be using.
Do you find that students miss more school once they're in high school? Does that trend? Yeah, in elementary school, they usually are more adherent to attendance.
Our daily attendance rates are absolutely higher in elementary school.
Okay.
However, I do want everyone to know that the chronic absentee issue is present at every grade.
Okay.
Elementary, we have probably about 30% chronic absenteeism. When you get into some of the secondary grades, you can have up to 36 to 40% chronic absenteeism. But either way, you don't want a third of your students chronically absent at any level. And
Sure.
when it starts a school refusal, meaning a student wakes up and says, I'm not going, I don't want to go, that is something we want to help with. Because once you have that pattern established with a student who's 8 or 10, it persists. So we want to get our arms around helping families and supporting them so we don't have that effect going on.
Got it. So there's just 2 last comments, it looks like. Stephen says, I find that knowing how your students actually write is the best safeguard against AI cheating. And then Ryan Anderson from Black Ball says, I just wanted to mention the importance of athletics for long-term development of our future leaders. For example, 80% of women who played sports believe the skills they developed were critical to their professional success, rising to 93% for those earning over $100,000 per year. Leadership, teamwork, confidence, and discipline cannot be underestimated. And I think also that, the camaraderie that you get being on a team, and the fun that you have. And also, if you're not attending school, then you can't play the sports after school. So there's probably that element too, I would guess.
Yes. Our school board has been so supportive around athletics. Yes, we have reductions that we face. Athletics have not incurred those reductions. Matter of fact, we established a girls flag football team last year, and they did amazing in their maiden year. And then we also established a boys swim team. We had been sending our boys to swim with Port Angeles for years, and we've got enough enrollment now on that team that we have started it. So we're very supportive, and everything you just said, we concur.
Yep. Well, great. So it is 9:01, so I think we'll call it a morning. Thank you so much, Regan, for joining us today. What you and all the teachers in our county are doing are such an important role, and we appreciate you joining us today. Thank
Well,
you.
thank you for the
All
partnership.
right. Bye-bye, everyone.